in this world, we have heroes. We do have heroes. Then we also have unsung heroes. It is the same in the Bible. When we read the stories in the Bible, we see heroes, but there are also unsung heroes, uncelebrated heroes. And one of the uncelebrated heroes in the Old Testament Bible is Samuel. I look at Samuel and I see the great things that this man did. I always feel that this man was uncelebrated, Samuel. So today, let us look a little bit into the life of Samuel, particularly how he was born. So let us go to the book of 1 Samuel chapter 1. 1 Samuel chapter 1, and see the circumstances prior to the birth of this great man and celebrated hero, Samuel. So 1 Samuel chapter 1, on verse number 9, the Bible says, after they had eaten and drank in Shiloh, Hannah rose. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat beside the doorpost of the temple of the Lord. She, Hannah, was deeply distressed and prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your servant and remember me and not forget your servant, but will give to your servant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head. Verse number 12. As she continued praying before the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart. Only her lips moved, and her voice was not heard. Therefore, Eli took her to be a drunken woman. And Eli said to her, how long will you go on being drunk? Put your wine away from you. What an exciting story. These were the circumstances in which the great man, the uncelebrated man, Samuel, was born. I say that Samuel was the uncelebrated hero because if you don't know, without Samuel, there was no King Saul and there was no King David. Because these two kings, actually, it was Samuel that, ordained the presidency, the kingship in Israel. Because Samuel, if you look at this man, he stands in between two different eras, periods of time. In the past there, you see the period of the judges. Now, the time of the judges was the most difficult time because there was no proper leadership or organized government in Israel. And Israel was not a nation. They were simply tribal groupings. And that's why when a crisis came, God in his mercy, he raised a man for that time. And that man was not a king, was only a judge, just to manage to judge that situation. And when that situation was over, the people backslided back into chaos. That's why there were so many judges, the likes of Samson, Jephthah, Deborah, Gideon, and all sorts of them, including Samuel. Samuel was the last judge in that period. That's why he stands in between. In other words, all the chaos during the time of the judges ended with Samuel. And by the time Samuel went off the scene, he had ordained Saul as the new king of Israel, the first king of Israel. And he was still around. And when God had rejected Saul, Samuel rose up again and ordained David. And the nation of Israel was firmly established. So as much as we celebrate David, as much as we celebrate the exploits of King Saul, we should also celebrate Samuel, the man whom God used to ordain all these men and to orchestrate this good governance that made the nation of Israel to get established. That's why I claim that Samuel is that uncelebrated hero. But let's get back to the circumstances of how Samuel came about, how he was born. His mother was Hannah. And this was a time that she was at Shiloh. And there she took advantage of that event, that time, that she also had an affliction because she had been married for so long, but no child. And the fellow women were mocking her. And she was with sorrow, sadness. That's why she was praying in that way. Because if you look at her prayer, it was an unusual prayer. Of course, she even made a vow before the Lord to say, if you can give me a child, a son, I will dedicate that child to save you, Lord. And she made an unusual prayer. You know, that is one blessing of problems. Problems are not good, but there is one positive thing about problems. Problems teach us unusual prayers. Challenges unlock a certain level of prayer in your life. If you have never been in trouble, you will never know how best to pray. or how to be broken in the spirit, or how to weep before the Lord. Because Hannah wept. She cried and she prayed in the way that she reached a level whereby she stopped voicing out. She was just shaking. The lips were just shaking. The lips were just bubbling like that. The lips were just shaking because of maybe too much pain or passion. To the extent that the pastor, the reverend of that time, the priest, Eli, made a mistake. And this is also a lesson to men and women of God and all of us. Many are the times that our imaginations are wrong. The way we look at things, we misjudge things. No one should think that we always look at things as exactly as they are. Here is a man of God judging an innocent woman to say, you are a drunkard. Yet the woman was not even drunk. She was not even drunk at that time. So it is also a lesson to you and me to say we should watch the way we look at people and judge them and treat them. Because in most cases, our judgments are wrong. We don't know what people are passing through. We don't know what's in the hearts of those people. We judge by outward appearance. And this is a lesson. Actually, even Samuel, when he was sent by God to anoint one of the sons of Jesse as the new king of Israel, Samuel made a mistake. God sent him, but when he looked at the appearance, he judged. He looked at one of the sons of Jesse. He looked like a giant. And he said, wow, that must be the man. But God had to shut him up to say, you are wrong. Not only once, he goofed several times. So be careful on how you look at people and draw conclusions. Because you think you know. I may think I know. Only when you talk to the people and hear their side of the story, that's when you can know the truth. And many times, you will be surprised. So desist from drawing conclusion on people because you don't know what they've passed through. You don't know the burdens that they're carrying. You don't know the troubles that they're enduring. Please, we should be sympathetic. We should be slow to draw conclusions on people. May God help us on that one. So we see that the priest of the house misjudged this woman. But this woman was so broken. And this woman said a prayer. And look, when she went back, God answered her prayer. The same prayer which Eli judged the woman to say, you must be drunk. That accused prayer, God honored that prayer. Let me encourage you to say, don't be discouraged by people's accusations or judgments. Say your prayer to God, and God is faithful enough. She will answer that. So Samuel was born. Now, when Samuel was born, when this child was born, they named this child Samuel, which in the Hebrew context is Shemuel or Shamuel. Now, this name draws my attention very much because this name Shemuel is a compound word. There are two words in there because there is Shem or Shema and El. Now, El is the name of God to say the Lord. That's why there are a lot of names that end with El, like Daniel, Samuel, Ezekiel. So the El at the end of these names is the name of God, like a title to say the Lord. So this is a compound word, Shema and El. In other words, El means the Lord, and Shema, it means to hear. In other words, the name Samuel, which this prayerful woman gave to her son, whom she had dedicated to the Lord. That name Samuel or Shemuel, Shemael, means the Lord has heard. The Lord has heard, which tells us that after this woman had prayed such a prayer, when God gave her that child, she decided to honor the Lord by naming that child Samuel, to say, the Lord has heard my prayer. The Lord heard my prayer. So every time you remember the name Samuel, you must also remember the circumstances that that child was born out of prayer. And when the child was born, was named in honor of that prayer which the Lord heard. So Samuel means the Lord has heard. May the Lord hear your prayer as you pray today, as you pray tomorrow and every other day. Samuel, the Lord has heard. The Lord has heard your prayer. He has heard my prayer. Stay blessed.